Well, I think it's a big deal. I think it's a big deal because, first of all, Antonio Brown has acted like a disgrace. He's been very childish, very belligerent, unnecessarily so. The rules that are being implemented apply to every single player in the league. Out of 2,000-plus players, he's the only one that's acted this way, making an absolute damn fool of himself. Just an embarrassment, to be quite honest with you. But then when you go as far as to engage in a level of insubordination where for somebody needs to explain, and I'm going to leave it to Marcus and Ryan to explain to me how every time this guy has a problem over the last several months, since he got $30 additional million in guaranteed money, by the way, every single time he's got a problem, he has to be out of practice. He has to leave. He can't be around his team. I mean, listen, helmet or no helmet, what's wrong with you being on the field running routes? What's wrong with you being on the field creating a chemistry with Derek Carr? What's wrong with you being around your teammates since you're arguably the face of this franchise and you're a leader? What's wrong with doing that? Somehow, some way, he uses all of this stuff, this petulant nonsense, as an excuse not to be around his team. But then last but not least, fellas, let me tell you something right now. You saw his tweet over the weekend. He used the N-word, for life, to describe what the acronym the NFL stands for. The N-word, for life. That level of insubordination, I understand that you got the NFL, by the you-know-what right now because of the residue from Colin Kaepernick, Eric Reed still speaking out the way that he does, etc. And so if you're the NFL, you got to dance the dance a little bit before really drawing a hard line. But this is clearly some incredible insubordination going on with him. Very disrespectful. And that's not good. You don't want to create an environment where you're inviting guys to exercise that level of discretion and come at you the way that Antonio Brown has been coming at you. It's disgraceful. It's immature. It's childish. It's petulant. And to be quite honest with you, I wouldn't blame them one bit if they sat up there and said, we don't want you behind anymore. They ain't going to do that because he's arguably the best receiver in the world. But he has warranted that kind of reaction based on the way he's conducting himself.
Man, this is a flea to a giant, man. The NFL ain't worried about this. Like, this is not something that's on Roger Goodell's plate. The rules are the rules, and they'll let him go through whatever he wants to go through and bring these helmets and get them tested and tweet about getting helmets and giving away Raiders practice helmets. It doesn't matter to the NFL. This is more an Oakland Raider problem. Right, and Molly said that Mike Mayock gave an ultimatum. That's not an ultimatum. That's hey, man, we want you in, and we want you all in. But even if you're not all in for this week, as long as you're all in for week one, we're happy. Like nobody's setting a hard line with Antonio Brown.
Hold up on that, though, because I felt like he was. And I thought that was pivotal to say you're either all in or all out. Like, they were finally showing that the Raiders are fed up with him, even though John Gruden had supported him so much. So you just think that's all fluff?
Yeah, it's posturing, right? It's him coming out because, one, Mike Mayock volunteered that information. That wasn't a regularly scheduled media presentation for him. It wasn't his opportunity to speak to the media. He walked over because he wanted to get this point out, right? He wanted to show the world. He wanted us to talk on Monday about how he put out this great ultimatum. An ultimatum is you come to practice today. And if you don't come to practice today, there's going to be an issue. The same way Ezekiel Elliott's getting fined because he's not in camp. What are we going to do about Antonio Brown? Like Stephen A. said, every time you have a problem, you take your ball and go home. Right? The Oakland Raiders ain't changed the helmets, right? The Oakland Raiders aren't saying that these new helmets are safer and you have to wear them. That's the NFL. So what's the problem with being on our practice field? What's the problem with being in our meeting rooms? And what's the problem with being in our meeting rooms today? That's not what they're doing. So this isn't an NFL problem. This is a John Gruden, Mike Mayock, Oakland Raider problem. And they aren't trying to fix it because you know what he said at the end of all that? And we hope in week one, AB's a part of that. Well, why does he not have to be a part of it today? Because you aren't making him, right? Because you aren't holding him accountable.
Let's keep it 100. AB don't want to practice. AB want to show up week one and play. All AB want to do is...
That's a lie, Marcus. Marcus, and you my dog. I played with him. The dude works.
Bro, I'm not questioning the work ethic. Like, that's the thing that's synonymous with AB, and that's probably why he's getting more of a pass than somebody else that's not showing up to work. But think about this, Ryan. AB has gotten everything he's wanted from the Oakland Raiders. He looked for a team that was going to pay him as one of the highest paid receivers. They delivered on that. He looked for a team that was going to embrace him and his personality with open arms. They did that. Now we bring in the helmet issue, and we start talking about the helmet is the reason why he's not around the team. Like you said, he takes his ball and goes home when things aren't going right. What is the only conclusion we can draw other than the fact that AB doesn't want to practice and he wants to play in games? The love affair with Derek Carr at the beginning of this signing tells you that AB was going to be all in with the Oakland Raiders. That was his guy. He wanted to show up to practice and change everything about the narrative and the scenario. This is who AB is now. Before he got to Oakland, he didn't come to practice. He showed up to the Pittsburgh game saying he wanted to play. And he said Tomlin and everybody else said he didn't want to participate in the game. This is who he's become. This is the guy that he is. And then, too, like getting to the narrative, what Stephen A. brought up, which I think is important and we're going to get into later. Like, how are we allowing these guys to continue to criticize the person that name is on their check and then act like that they're bigger than that? Like, if you look, it's simple for
Roger
me.
Goodell
Brian,
name ain't on that check?
Brian, I'm talking about the NFL. I'm
That
going
name
back.
ain't no, hey, it was Mr. Rooney name on my
back
check.
to the point when AB is talking about blank in the NFL,
I got you.
and
Right.
it's an NFL issue and all of that. There is an underlying factor, bro. Like, if you don't want to be a part of the power structure, we know what the NFL is. The NFL ain't really ever gave a damn about social justice issues. The only way that this arose was because of Colin Kaepernick. So to the point of what Stephen A. was saying is you can make noise and you can gripe.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.